Gas, 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 gas.
I'm definitely living proof that there is no reason that HIV should restrict me, that I can do just the same thing that everybody else can do here in the military. And I think that the more people within the military see this, the more people outside of the military see this, that I'm HIV positive and I'm capable of doing just as much as everybody else. I was deployed to Afghanistan in 6 and 7 and to Kuwait and Iraq in 11 and 12. And I think a lot of what they see here is that there's a lot of waiting, there's a lot of sort of downtime. And then whenever things happen, it actually happens very quickly. What you're seeing right now is that they are doing the actions on the objective. You have one squad that is just sort of pushed through and assaulted first, and then you have the second one that came in and did sort of like a little shake. I'm First Lieutenant Nick Harrison. I just received my commission as a First Lieutenant in the Army earlier this year, and I'm going through the direct commissioning course at Fort Moore. I'm definitely a case study or an example of somebody coming from a disadvantaged background and using the military to sort of become more socially mobile and become part of a better society and live the American dream. My mother was a single mother on public assistance, and I probably would not have had the opportunity to attend college and to go on to law school. I was the first in my family to graduate from college with a bachelor's degree. And all that was because of the military benefits that I'd received, as well as the training and the experience that I received in the military.
The goal of DCC, once they complete the course, is that they are now a commissioned officer and they know the foundations of being a soldier. So what you're going to see today, it's called Sticks Lanes Situational Training Exercises. So they get a day of training specifically on weapons, radios, camouflage, and then throughout the course they receive small blocks of instruction on tactics. And then they will come out here and just demonstrate that. They will do what's called a movement to contact, where they move through the woods, they take contact from the OP4, which is the enemy, and then they will conduct a squad attack. So Lieutenant Harrison's performance during this course it's been awesome. There's not a single negative thing to say. He has prior service, he's been in the National Guard, he's been deployed before, he was prior service infantry. So this stuff just comes naturally to him. He's used to it, he's a natural leader in this course. Lieutenant Harrison's performance, due to the fact he's living with HIV, has not affected his performance at all. Lieutenant Harrison's injury, yesterday the students were conducting individual movement techniques. They were learning how to do low crawls, high crawls, buddy team rushes, which is to get up and move as a battle buddy team and get down real quick within 3 to 5 seconds. And during a low crawl, unfortunately, Lieutenant Harrison, as he was moving, he ended up dislocating his kneecap. And so we had to get him medevaced out of here to the hospital in order to get him fixed up. But within 12 hours, he was back with the class. He's in a knee brace, and he's good to continue training. An injury does not stop you. Lieutenant Harrison will complete the course.
Down to 1 mag, good on water. I'm not shot, I got all my equipment.
I definitely think that we have a pretty close and tight-knit group. One of the beautiful things about DCC is that we are the first faces we see in the morning and the last faces we see at night. And so like we spend almost every waking hour together, and it's a lot of just growing, learning, and just bonding together. And I don't know, I couldn't ask for a better group. I enjoy all of you guys, and I'm looking forward to finishing up and seeing you guys in Charlottesville.
Normally this would make us really nervous. If that came in a room with a bunch of first lieutenants, we'd be standing at attention. But here,
yeah. Here we're all students, so no saluting me.
First Lieutenant Dan Hillshafer, Cheyenne, Wyoming.
First Lieutenant Shane Broadstone, Fort Myers, Florida.
First Lieutenant Don Deckert. I grew up in Tifton, Georgia, and I live in Chicago.
Major Jorge Davila from Guaynabo, Puerto Rico.
First Lieutenant Mike Clancy, Mayapack, New York.
First Lieutenant Nick Harrison, Washington, D.C.
First Lieutenant John Bradley, Wetumpka, Alabama.
First Lieutenant Colby Cook, Kansas City, Missouri.
First Lieutenant Brett Deal, San Diego, California.
First Lieutenant Julius Brittman, Fayetteville, North Carolina.
There were times whenever we were afraid for our safety. I mean, that's where I got my combat infantryman's badge. While I was deployed over there to the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan, right there on the edge. We fought a lot of the Taliban insurgents who were coming over from Pakistan into Afghanistan and trying to cause trouble and cause insurgency there. While I was deployed during a nighttime operation, there were rockets that were fired with us. There was a time whenever a convoy went through a small village and we had to go door to door, clear out each of the buildings because the convoy had been fired upon by insurgents in the village. I think everybody who signs up for the military in one fashion or another, I mean, that's basically what we do is we kind of write a blank check to the government and say that you can use us for anything up to and including our life. It's kind of the biggest commitment that you can make to anything, a cause, a person, a nation, or whatever, is to sign your name on the dotted line and say that you're going to go off and fight a country's wars and defend the nation. I mean, it does have a little bit of a kick whenever you hold it up. These could go fully automatic whenever you rotate it around. Ultimately, it ended up being denied my commission because of my HIV status. It was very infuriating because I had already demonstrated a significant commitment to the military, having fought overseas in combat zones and shown that I could do the job, that I was accustomed to a military environment. And then to get just sort of brush off like that, just 2 or 3 sentences, not even with an explanation as to why they were saying no, just that it was not considered favorably. It was very frustrating for me.
What we were litigating in Lieutenant Harrison's case was an argument that people living with HIV who are in care and have well-managed HIV are just as healthy and capable as anyone else with similar health and training in the military. And so the fact that the military was treating people living with HIV in the service differently was problematic because it was logically and factually inaccurate, but also it perpetuated a stigma that people living with HIV may be less capable of any job specifically because of their HIV status, which they're not. My name is Kara Engelhardt, she, her. I'm an attorney at Lambda Legal, the nation's oldest and largest legal organization dedicated to advancing the rights of LGBTQ people and people living with HIV. Frankly, the US military is probably the biggest and strongest and most well-resourced defendant I've ever litigated against. They're incredibly sophisticated from a legal perspective, but also from every other technological and medical perspective as well.
DoD's policy is old policy, was originally a relic of like the 80s, the 90s, whenever you're sort of at the height of the AIDS scare. At that time, there was no effective treatment for HIV. If you got it, you would get sick and slowly die over time. And so at that time, there was a lot of hysteria. There were talks of, well, maybe we should round up all the people with HIV and put them in camps. The military decided what at the time was a fairly compassionate policy, that, okay, we understand you have this condition. We're not going to kick you out of the military. We're going to continue to let you sit in your job and do it for as long as you can. It was kind of an act of charity or goodwill at the time. Over the years, though, as we started getting medicines and treatments, it didn't really change. And that's sort of the part that was really baffling to me and really to the rest of the medical community.
The novel theory in Nick Harrison's case was that people living with HIV should be protected under the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. This is a huge win on behalf of people living with HIV because never before had people living with HIV been protected under constitutional provisions specifically based on their HIV status.
I was ecstatic about the news. It's sort of a situation you sort of read about in history textbooks or political science textbooks where the system actually works and change happens. Everyone here at DCC has been very supportive of me. I've been surprised that a lot of them have actually heard my story before, and so they've reached out to me and expressed congratulations and asked me if there's anything they can do to sort of support or assist me. But that's not the case for everybody. People who are freshly diagnosed with HIV, who signed up to be an officer in the military, and their lab results come back and it says, hey, you're HIV positive, they're kicked out. They're not allowed to proceed on their pathway forward.
At the Fourth Circuit, we had 3 different amicus briefs, and a very powerful amicus brief came from retired leaders across the military branches who said in their opinion that people living with HIV should be able to serve, and barring them from being able to commission and have full careers in the military would negatively impact military readiness.
You're also not allowed to enlist in the military if you're HIV positive right now. And that's something that doesn't make a lot of sense either. I think it's important for the military to drop restrictions on people who have HIV, because part of the military being able to serve the country is it's got to look like the people that it's serving. It has to reflect everybody that's out there. And people living with HIV are part of the population. They're capable of serving and doing jobs as well. They demonstrate that every day in every other area of government and every other walk of civilian life. And so the military should not be excluding them from jobs, excluding them from the opportunities here, if they hope to defend equality in a society, the constitutional rights that we put our names on the line for and fight for overseas. If they believe in that, they have to demonstrate it within the ranks as well.